Hey, grüß dich. Hast du gesehen, was gestern los war? Cool. Hammer. Super. Hi. Du hast ja auch gestreamt. War auch cool. Ja, das war heftig. Das war heftig.
Vier Ärzte, 6 oder 7. Oh, da ist Portier, ich glaube, das brauche ich nachher auch noch. Das brauche ich nachher auch noch. Nein, down.
And then you have some time to say something and people want to ask anything about children's health.
So. Stopp sofort.
Achso, davon?
Ja, nein, also jetzt, ihr habt keiner gerade einen Livestream an, hoffe ich.
Stefan hat ja gesagt.
Vorhin hatte Kennedy gesagt, er soll.
Stefan hat ja.
Wir laufen schon was.
Werden wir darüber auch informiert, vielleicht. Also würde mich schon freuen, also wenn wir einladen, dass wir das vorher abklären.
Müssen wir ausmachen.
Jetzt, wir wollten es eigentlich, ich meine, es ist eh schon spät, oder?
Ja, ist es spät. Jetzt ist es spät, ja. Aber wenn er sagt, es ist in Ordnung, dann ist es gut.
Kann man nochmal fragen?
Aber jetzt ist es schön ruhig, dann können wir einfach direkt anfangen. Ja?
Es ist, wie es ist.
Ja, willkommen. Welcome, Robert Kennedy Jr. Welcome, Santa Dupree. Welcome, Mary Holland. Welcome, Tina Choi. And Marcus Heinz, you know all. First of all, I would like to say thank you that you found the time during this weekend. You have been invited by the European chapter of Children's Health Defense. It was the inaugural meeting for you, and we are very pleased and grateful that you found the time for this press conference with us. Sandra, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, it is a big honor and opportunity to meet with our friends from Germany. We've been working on some time now to try to open up a European chapter of Children's Health Defense. And because we feel that what is happening now is really becoming an international agenda that needs to have an international response, and so wanted to really to unite initiatives in Europe. And so we just signed the statutes and of our European organization this week, basically. It's just been, and we absolutely need, of course, to have our inaugural meeting and meet with colleagues from all over Europe. And so this is why we thought like this to do it. And there, it all kind of, came into place that the people from Ferdinand came and the protest, and we're also, of course, very eager to have some words from our chairman, Bobby Kennedy. So, please.
Thank you, everybody. Being here, I'm very, very impressed with the number of cameras in this room. And this is more cameras, reporters than I've seen in 15 years of doing this work. And one of the most, I think, alarming features of this rise of medical totalitarianism, of digital totalitarianism and capacity of pharmaceutical cartels and for the big digital companies to control the flow of information. And that's something that I think grassroots groups that challenge official orthodoxies are running across this information age tyranny everywhere that we go. My father and my uncle strongly believed that democracy can only survive if we have the free flow of information. And at that time, we had more limited international and national vehicles. We had 3 television networks in the United States and 1 public information network. Then we had many, many radio shows. But the battle, my uncles recognized Radio Free Europe and the USIA, the United States Information Agency. They funded and created that because they knew that the only way to challenge totalitarianism behind the Iron Curtain was by getting accurate information to the people of those nations. And today, the public square information is controlled by a few large companies that are headquartered in Silicon Valley in the United States. Those companies have very, very strong alliances with the pharmaceutical companies. Google, which actively censors information of the kind that we're trying to get out, is a vaccine company. Google makes vaccines, its subsidiaries and its sister corporations that are part of Verily and Alphabet are making flu vaccines, are making COVID vaccines, and they are actively, Google and Facebook and the others are actively censoring information, not only critical information of the vaccine industry, information about corruption among health regulatory officials, and information about other alternatives that compete with the pharmaceutical paradigm. Google actively censors information about chiropractors, about holistic health, about functional medicine, about integrative medicine, about drugs like hydroxychloroquine, which are for which the patents have expired. And I'm not here to say that hydroxychloroquine works or it doesn't work. We need to look at science for that. What we do know is that the science is being suppressed and the science is being fixed. And that should offend every American, every European, everybody in the world who cares about democracy, about human health, about freedom and independence. There was a big battle at the beginning of American history between some of our greatest leaders, Madison and Adams on the one side and Jefferson on the other. And Madison and Adams believed that only people who own land should be able to vote, property owners. And Jefferson said, no, everybody should get to vote by everybody, and all white men, but everybody. And Madison and Adams were not anti-democratic and they were not snobs. But they understood that only people who owned property were educated. And they believed that if democracy were handed over, that the vote, the franchise was given to people who did not have education, that they would easily be seduced by demagogues, that they would be bribed and blackmailed by corporations, and that they would be talked into ruling, and they would be frightened by unscrupulous politicians and authoritarian elements, and that fear would cause them to voluntarily relinquish the Bill of Rights that the American revolutionists had shed their blood to make into a constitution. And Jefferson agreed with them. And he said, you're right, an uneducated public will quickly give away democracy. He said the remedy for that is not to deprive the public of its right to vote, but rather to forcibly educate them. And so the United States, the first 13 colonies, were the first nations in the world to have mandatory public education. And on Jefferson's gravestone, it does not say author of the Declaration of Independence. It says founder of the University of Virginia, because he understood that an educated, informed public was the only thing that holds democracy together. And today, the public square, the area that we all get our education from, is controlled by a few billionaires from Silicon Valley. And you know, people say, well, who's behind? I don't know whether the pandemic was planned. I don't have the information. Whether it was deliberate or whether it was an accident, or whether it was just a wild virus escape. What I do know, and what should be obvious to every single person, is that it has become an instrument of convenience or authoritarian elements who are using it to generate fear and clamp down to justify the clamping down of authoritarian controls all over our society. And the question is, who's behind it? And the answer to that question is always the same. Quo bono. Who's benefiting? Well, who is benefiting? Who is getting richer while the middle class in our nations is being obliterated? It's Bill Gates, it's Mark Zuckerberg, it is the people who own Google, and all of these companies are part of not only propagating and promoting and the quarantine, the lockdown that is making them rich, they're also censoring criticism of those policies actively, and censoring questions that public, legitimate questions, rational, calm, legitimate questions that the public wants to ask about the relationships between the regulatory agencies and the pharmaceutical companies, and about the policies, the wearing of masks, of which there's legitimate question. We don't take a position on the wearing of masks. Oh, we do publish the science. And I can tell you that the science is not unambiguous. We've looked at hundreds of studies, including 3 large meta-reviews, and they all indicate that masks don't work. There are studies that say they may work, and we don't take a position on it. But people ought to be able to talk about those things. People ought to be able to question them. People ought to be able to write about the contrary science. We ought to be able to debate about hydrochloroquine. We ought to have these debates about the lockdown, the quarantine. Nobody's asking critical questions. Is the quarantine going to kill more people than the COVID?
Yes.
Why has that question never been asked? We have very good studies from the 1980s in the United States that show that unemployment kills people. Every 1 point in unemployment in 1982, there's a very, very solid study that has been cited hundreds of times in the literature, peer-reviewed study, that shows that every 1 point of unemployment kills 37,000 people. And this was in 82, when our population was 43% less. So you need to almost double that. So every point in unemployment kills 60,000 people. And it went through, how did they die? Well, at that time, 9,000 of them were dying from heart attacks. 900 were dying from suicide. You can read the study, which is posted on my website, and it tells how all those people are dying. And in addition to that, there's 4,000 extra imprisonments, 3,300 extra admissions to mental institutions. And we're seeing today that we could be driving unemployment rates up to 20 or 30%, 20 extra points, 30 extra points. You're talking about millions of people dead from those causes. In addition to that, we have something they didn't have in the 1980s, which are these profound and deliberate injuries to the supply chains for foods and medicines. Those are going to kill people. Isolation kills people. In England, in 5 weeks in April and May, there were 30,000 extra deaths in senior centers, in nursing homes. But only 10,000 of those were from COVID. 20,000 were from isolation, from elderly people who didn't see their doctor for hypertension, for reasons whose families couldn't visit them. And so they were being abused by healthcare workers. They weren't getting the kind of care that they needed. According to the World Health Organization, 2 months of quarantine will add 6.3 million cases of tuberculosis and 1.5 million people dead from tuberculosis. That's more people than will die from COVID. Oh, these are questions that need to be asked. They need to be debated. And I'm so happy that Children's Health Defense is now coming to Europe. We have a global opponent. These companies, Glaxo, Merck, Sanofi, and Pfizer, are global companies. They have made a concerted effort to subvert democracy in every nation of Europe and every nation around the world, and they own our political leaders. And we need a global institution that can challenge them. And for that reason, we are now spreading the influence and the networking from Children's Health Defense to Europe as well. And we're very proud of all of our new members in Europe, and we're very proud to launch this new organization, Children's Health Defense Europe, today. Thank you.
We congratulate you to the foundation of Children's Health Defense Europe, and we are here with doctors and lawyers who have been actively fighting for more information, free information. And I would like to suggest that they come to the front now, because we will be working together very closely with Children's Health Defense Europe, our doctors, Ärzte für Aufklärung, the lawyers of Klagepaten und Anwälte für Aufklärung will be network partners for Children's Health Defense Europe.
Maybe Mary, if you want to say something.
Just very briefly, that I work in the United States with Children's
This is
Health
Mary
Defense.
Holland, is one of our attorneys. Former professor for many years, many decades at NYU.
May I interrupt? Könnt ihr Englisch alle verstehen? Wir haben auch eine Übersetzerin im Raum, wenn es notwendig ist.
Der Zuschauer
Fragen nach?
Ja.
Okay.
Ich würde es später übersetzen.
Ich würde sagen,
YouTube kann Untertitel übersetzen.
we make subtitles.
Yeah.
And the best thing is that our guests can speak in their
Yes.
mother language, and then we can
We will take
make
care
a
of that later.
subtitle.
Go right ahead.
It's important that if you have a message that you can say it in your language. And then,
I think that Senta and Robert have said the most important things, but just let me add my sense that we are up against global forces. That's obvious, right? We have shutdowns around the world, and people are suffering around the world. And so we have to have a coordinated response. It's not optional, it's necessary. And so we are so grateful to be here in Germany, because you do understand this. Having lived through totalitarianism, having had a divided country, there are a few countries in the world who are better able to understand what we are truly up against. And so we are so grateful to be here with you and to look forward to collaboration in the time ahead of us so that we can really restore our democracy and our freedom and our free expression and our respect for all people. So I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Ich heiße Tina Choi. Ich bin das deutsche Gründungsmitglied für Children's Health Defense Europe und ich bin sehr, sehr stolz und sehr, sehr froh, dabei sein zu dürfen. Und wie ich gestern schon gesagt habe, unsere Kinder sind das Allergrößte und das Allerwichtigste, was wir haben auf der Welt. Unsere Hoffnung, unsere Zukunft, alles. Und um diese gesund und glücklich aufwachsen zu sehen, in Frieden und in Freiheit, dafür steht Children's Health Defense. Und dafür werden wir alles tun, was in unserer Macht steht. Und wir haben die Unterstützung von Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Man findet uns jetzt auch schon auf children'shealthdefense.eu, ist unsere Webseite. Dort kann man sich auch als ein Mitglied anmelden, das heißt ein lebenslanges Mitglied. Und dann können wir zum Beispiel Mitglieder sammeln und dann in bestimmten Ländern in Europa dann auch Aktionen starten. Und das ist uns sehr wichtig, dass Sie uns alle unterstützt, damit wir möglichst schnell mit der Arbeit hier fortfahren können, die Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in Amerika macht. Vielen Dank.
Ja, ich würde sagen, dann sage ich noch ein paar Worte in Deutsch, nachdem unser Publikum jetzt auch dann gefragt hat. Und ja, ich möchte mich auch ganz, ganz herzlich bei euch bedanken, dass ihr dieses Wochenende bei uns seid. Es ist ein sehr, sehr starkes Signal, dass wir jetzt Children's Health Defense auch in Europa haben. Es war für unsere Demonstration gestern ein unglaublicher Push, dass wir Robert auf der Bühne hatten. Ich habe es zwar selber nicht mitbekommen, ich habe es nur gehört, weil ich andersweitig unterwegs war, aber wir haben jetzt sehr viele positive Rückmeldungen gehabt und es war wirklich richtig, richtig wichtig. Und Michael Ballweg, für den ich jetzt hier stellvertretend auch spreche, der ist momentan in seinem Protestcamp, weil er jetzt hier schauen muss, dass wir weitermachen dürfen. Wir haben vorher kurz Fotos gemacht und wir werden vielleicht auch nachher noch ein kleines Interview machen. Aber es ist natürlich auch wichtig, dass dieses Protestcamp weitergeht. Deswegen hat dann der Michael gebeten, auch für mich nochmal, für ihn nochmal zu sprechen und sich ganz herzlich bei Robert zu bedanken und bei Mary auch, dass wir das so schnell hingekriegt haben. Das war ein unglaublicher Spirit. Wir haben am Anfang, glaube ich, alle nicht gedacht, wir kriegen das hin. Und wir hatten ein so großes Team an Leuten im Hintergrund, Ärzten, Anwälte, Personenschutz, Netzwerker. Und es hat wie ein Uhrwerk funktioniert. Es lief absolut perfekt. Ich hätte nie geglaubt, dass wir das so reibungslos hinbekommen. Und das ist unglaublich, weil man einfach sieht, wenn man das Richtige tut, dann funktionieren die Dinge. Dann findet man Helfer und dass das in dieser Weise geklappt hat. Das war gestern ein Signal in die ganze Welt, was unsere Friedensbewegung angeht und natürlich auch, was die Projekte von Children's Health Defense angeht. Weil Kinderrechte auf der ganzen Welt sind momentan dramatisch eingeschränkt. Die Menschenrechte sind dramatisch eingeschränkt und ich sehe das genauso. Wir brauchen hier eine globale Antwort auf eine globale Krise und deswegen sind wir alle hier. Und ich bin unheimlich froh, dass wir so viele tolle Menschen haben, die uns hier helfen. Und ich denke mal, als nächstes würden wir jetzt übergehen zu den Ärzten dann.
I understood everything you say.
We can talk later and then...
And I just wanted to say it was, as you say, something, it was a huge challenge in a very, very, very short time. And everything has fallen into place and ein Uhrwerk.
Yeah.
So it was like a little bit of a miracle and it was just a fantastic spirit and we're immensely grateful and thrilled and by everything that's happening here and really feels good. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. So, dann würde ich die Ärzte mal, ich weiß nicht, wen wir alles da haben. So now we make an interview with the doctors. Frederike, möchtest du nebenher moderieren oder haben wir irgendjemand zu moderieren?
Willst du das fertig machen?
Ein Multitalent.
Ja Leute, also
Ja.
wechseln jetzt gerade einmal die Bank vorne, gehe dann gleich weiter direkt mit den Ärzten für Aufklärung zusammen mit Robert F. Kennedy Jr. und natürlich Markus Heinz, das Universaltalent für jeden Bereich. Es gibt kein Event in Berlin, wo er nicht dabei ist.
Ja. Ja. Oh, Bodo ist auch da, wunderbar. Cool. Du, ich habe im Chat gelesen, Nana wurde voll festgenommen. Nana und so weiter. Ja, was soll's.
They say thank you to you and they love you. They are texting in the comments.
Our viewers too. Yeah, thank you.
They love you.
Thank you.
How much viewers do we have right now?
10,000 on this one.
Show, show, show.
Samuel hat die meisten. Ganz klar.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome. We are here with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. with my colleague. He's also a lawyer, and he is the chairman of Children's Health Defense United States. I'm here with Heiko Schöning, Doctors of Enlightenment, and Dr. Bodo Schiffmann. And I think you can speak some medical things, and I pass the word to you.
Yeah.
First.
Thank you very much. My name is Heiko Schöning. I'm a medical doctor from Hamburg, Germany, and I'm one of the co-founders of Doctors of Enlightenment, in German Ärzte für Aufklärung, in Spanish Médicos por la Verdad. This organizations of medical doctors represent more than 1,000 international doctors worldwide. So, and what we say together is that this story with COVID-19 is not on any scientific basis. It's just a lie. Yeah? So we need to say that this is just something to turn around the economy. So in the center is not any health problem. So believe me, the coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, here, COVID-19 is not the problem. The real problem is the economy. So this is a good story for all people in the world, for all people who are now forced to wear masks. And as Bobby said this before, so these masks are bad for health. We have scientific studies that show this. We already presented all scientific facts that showed that these masks are not good for the people, they are not protecting from any virus. It's just ridiculous. Well, but what is much more serious, of course, is the abuse of our civil rights. And these civil rights are very important for health as well, because it gives you a better feeling, better for your immune system. And in Melbourne, Australia, we see now, from the beginning of August 2020, a lockdown stage 4. What does this mean? And who implemented this? This lockdown stage 4 in Melbourne, Australia means that the people are not allowed to go onto the street here for more than 1 hour for sports, that they were locked down like in martial law from 8 o'clock in the evening up to the dawn, up to 5 o'clock in the morning. All shops are closed over there, only very few for living. The children, and especially the children, are suffering. The children are not allowed to go to school. We have the same situation here, partly in Germany, and our children are suffering. And this is not based on any scientific facts. I need to emphasize this again. So we need to ask ourselves, cui bono? Who profits out of this? And we see that these are highly criminals. These are oligarchs. Oligarchs are not only in Russia, they are in the United States and in other countries as well. And they have these companies, like you said before, they own Google, Vaccinator as well. And I just want to point the thing on the company Emergent Biosolutions, formerly Bioport. We had this story that we have a deadly virus or bacteria. We had this story before. It was the same pattern. And I just would like to remind you just shortly. In 2001, we had this anthrax attack with this anthrax panic. And it's very similar to the corona panic as well. And guess what? The same people behind the same company, Emergent Biosolution now, they made the big money out of this. Yeah? And today in Germany, the Minister of Health bought 300 million doses of vaccines against COVID-19 from the company AstraZeneca. But guess who is producing this? It's an American company, and same again, it's Emergent Biosolutions, yeah, formerly Bioport. So we have a criminal line, and we need to investigate this, and we need to charge these organized crime. It's nothing else. We have no health problem. Yeah, all data show this. We have a problem with organized crime, and in the center is the economy. Thank you very much indeed.
Just a second, I just received the message that on the Siegessäule there is a lot of violence by the police, so I have to check this. I pass the word to Bodo and I come back when we fix this.
And one more information. Wenn ihr später eure Fragen stellt, dann haben wir eine Übersetzerin da. Also ihr könnt gerne eure Fragen auf Deutsch stellen und sie wird es dann übersetzen für Robert Kennedy.
Wir müssen vielleicht nicht filmen, wo das hier ist.
Ja,
Vielleicht auf dem Boden
wir machen mal Pause.
Ja, Leute, es geht zur Siegessäule. Bis gleich. Dann gibt es einen neuen Stream, okay? Oder dann geht's weiter, meine ich. Bleibt einfach in diesem Stream und wenn dieser weg ist, dann...
Neuer Stream.
Neuer Stream. Es gibt einen neuen Stream. So.